SML Ghana is a company that does assurance services, basically for government currently.
We want to meet with them and understand the real rationale for which they also want to do an automatic tank gauging system.
But in your monitoring, did you ever report or identify issues of under-declaration?
No, we don't get into that. That's why that 3 billion, I'm not. That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Per current arrangement, SML Ghana is entitled or will be paid over $100 million every year. This contract is for 10 years.
It's essentially a plug-in into the revenue stream of the state, taking money for no job done, essentially.
Using the ultrasonic flow meter at the outlet there is not the best way to manage a tank.
In a control room in Tema in the Greater Accra region, officials of Strategic Mobilisation Ghana Limited explained their services to the Fourth Estate News team.
We have transistors which are engulfed in the ultrasonic clampons or the real sets.
The company tried to convince our news team of its wild claims that it had helped to save billions of Ghana cedis that would have been lost in the downstream petroleum sector but for its intervention. More importantly, it tried to justify why it receives payments worth millions of Ghana cedis from the government of Ghana through its contract with the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA.
Currently, we are installing a tank gauging system.
By the end of our second day at SML Ghana, however, we were convinced that a company, with the help of Ghana's media, had made false and unsubstantiated claims and is paid millions of cedis in a deal that appears to lack value for money. A few hours after our meeting, some of the claims began to disappear from the company's website.
We were shocked at one point when government said they were bringing in SML to actually sit at the depot where the product is lifted. And in fact, that is where there isn't much problem. Because when the product is lifted, MPA is able to see, how much product has been lifted through their tank gauging systems and also the metering systems at the depots. So that was never the problem. The problem really was, how do you track it to where the tax is actually collected or is supposed to be collected for you to be able to make the money. So from day one, the importance of SML was questioned by all the industry players. You can talk to all the players in the sector and they will tell you that where SML is positioned, they cannot be doing revenue assurance for the state.
SML Ghana, like other private sector service providers, was engaged to curtail huge losses in the downstream petroleum sector. Some oil marketing companies, OMCs, which lifted petroleum products from the nation's depots, sold the products and refused to pay hundreds of millions of cedis of the tax, levies, and margins component on the petroleum products.
Some of these debts become quite heavy based on the OMC's liftings levels. So that's why some of these debts, and if the person is not stopped immediately from loading petroleum products, then it means you'll be accumulating as it goes on.
Interestingly, the tax is not even paid by the traders or the OMCs. It is the people who pay the tax. So if you buy any liter, every liter of petroleum product you buy, there is a tax component which is about 2 cedis 30 pesos that is supposed to go to government. So on top of the value of the petroleum product, and the margins that are supposed to go to the business, government has imposed tax that the OMCs are just supposed to collect the tax and hand it over to the state. But in most cases, they don't. And over time, we've seen about 20% of revenues due to the state leaking into private hands.
To stop the revenue losses, the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, and the GRA have instituted policy and technical measures with the help of third-party companies.
Now your system starts with the ERDMS, and then it is ended on the ICOMS. It brings about transparency.
Since 2018, regulators in the industry introduced the Enterprise Relational Database Management System, ERDMS. This platform has the NPA, GRA, bulk oil distributing companies, BDCs, and the OMCs on board to ensure transparency, facilitation, and the tracking of transactions.
We've ensured that there's a seamless play-by-play from all parties within the chain.
Before the introduction of the automation, there was a lot of manual systems within the petroleum downstream operations. That largely accounted for the inefficiencies within the sector. And when the system was largely digitized, I think it has helped to a very large extent to bring those leakages under control.
With the ERDMS, every liter of petroleum product lifted from any depot in the country can be accounted for by the regulators and tax authorities. An oil marketing company that wishes to buy fuel from any depot across the country to sell at any filling station or supply to other consumers must begin the process electronically on the ERDMS.
If I know I'm loading like 20 or 10 trucks, I'll go to the ERDMS system, go to the dashboard, and then there's a place that we use transactions because I want to place an order. So when you enter the transaction, it will give you a lot of options, place an order, delivery plan, fuel delivery. But what I do is the one I want, because I want to place an order, is a place an order. So when you enter the place an order, it will give you the interface. The interface consists of the order type, mode of transport, tax exemption, date, BDC, depot, order number. So the date already to give you the date. So I'll choose the BDC that I want, that's loading, because it's Go Energy, which is our BDC. And then the depot that I'm loading today is APD depot.
The bulk distributor, who is the supplier of the petroleum product, the bulk importers, bulk imports, distributors, export companies will approve the order. So they will have stocks at the depot that they are supplying to the oil marketing companies. So they will give the approval, and then we have a good standing check. This good standing check is the point where ICOMS, which is GRA's customs management system, is integrated with the ERDMS. What this check does is that it ensures that every oil marketing company that is lifting petroleum products is in good standing. When we say good standing, it means that they do not owe any taxes and they've made good on the taxes that they are supposed to have paid. So at this point, anytime an oil marketing company places an order, the ICOM system gives confirmation and says this company A is actually in good standing, they've made good on their taxes, they do not owe, so the order can be loaded and then the order goes through the system.
So once loading is done, so then the driver will come with the same order to dispatch office. So then dispatch is going to print a waybill against this order which we have printed out from NPA portal. So we can see all the details which is on the NPA order, the same, all the details are on the waybill.
An OMC that lifts product has up to 21 days plus 4 days in each window to pay the tax and margins that are embedded in the price of petroleum products to the government.
We have 2 periods. That's first period from 1st to 15th and 16th to the end of the month. So the BDCs and the OMCs as well as the depot operators customs or GRA do reconciliation with all of them. So at the end of the first period, 15th, the next day, 16th, they submit a form to us indicating the quantity of product they've loaded.
This means a company whose taxes are due has not paid is automatically locked out of the system and cannot lift petroleum products from anywhere in the country. Companies in good standing are cleared by the MPA and the GRA. On the system, the OMCs also have to be cleared by the BDCs, owners of the petroleum product from which the OMCs are buying. The depots that store the products are also on the platform and cannot allow any OMC to lift petroleum products without having passed through the system and satisfied all the requirements.
I have never seen any challenge with this portal. And like stock balances, in case so lot of OMCs, BDCs, they come to load. So before it was very difficult for us to be checking physical stocks. As a human being, we may miss the stock and we can overload the BR if we are looking all the time at physical one. But now how NPA portal is helping us, once you don't have stock, you cannot put the order. System will not allow you to take that order in.
Another way the OMCs used to shortchange the system and cause revenue losses was the diversion of products. Some lifted petroleum products meant for the international market and did not have to pay taxes on them. They turned around and sold the product locally. Others also cheated the system using the Unified Petroleum Pricing Fund, UPPF. This fund is where money is paid to OMCs to offset the cost of transportation to places far from the depots. It is through this arrangement that fuel lifted from a depot in Tema and sold in Tema cost the same as the fuel lifted from a depot in Tema but sold in Paga, about 800 kilometers away. To curtail the cheating in the system, the MPA through third-party service providers has introduced electronic tracking of every truck that loads petroleum products. Each truck is mandated to declare where it will discharge the product. If a product is discharged at a different location other than the filling station declared, it sends an alarm to the tracking command center at the MPA.
If a truck has 6 compartments, it means that we would have to prepare for every compartment. You need to prepare a seal for the top and also for the valve. Because if they are not able to get a product from the valve, they will surely go to the top and get it out. So we need to secure both the top and the bottom for all the 6. So if a truck has 6 compartments, it means that for that truck, we are going to use 12 sets of eye sensors in securing that particular truck. Okay, so once we are done and everything is checked and confirmed, the truck will now leave the depot. And when the truck leaves the depot, the command center takes over the monitoring of that particular truck. So if there is any attempt to siphon or to touch the product and all that, probably they would have to go through the electronic seal. Once they do that, an alert is being triggered to the command center, which is being picked up for further investigation.
That system is a live monitoring system. So instead of waiting for the crime to be committed before you come, we have now put in place a system whereby immediately we spot that somebody has stopped at a particular point to try to tamper with the seal or discharge. Efforts are made to get the nearest police station or some security service around the area to rush to the point.
Despite these measures to account for petroleum products lifted from the depots and the revenue losses that accrue to the state, there is the possibility of smuggled products finding their way into the market. To resolve this, the MPA has introduced the fuel marking system.
Fuel marking can be defined as the addition of a biochemical substance into the petroleum product. Now, this biochemical substance is added in trace quantities, very minute quantities, taking into context the quantity of petroleum product. And this biochemical substance gives the petroleum product a unique identity, like a fingerprint.
The marking system put in place also tackles the problem of dilution of petroleum products.
So if any adulteration of any sort is done, the National Petroleum Authority, through some random tests they conduct, will be able to detect that the product has been tampered with by way of form of adulteration or dilution.
The ERGMS is linked to the GRA's Electronic Revenue Mobilization System, ICOMS. This means every transaction that takes place can be traced and taxed. Together with the presence of GRA officials manning all the depots to ensure that every liter of product is accounted for, players in the industry say the system is robust enough to curtail the losses of the past.
The ERDMS system that we call the Enterprise Relational Data Management System is a system, for example, that now allows all transactions in the industry to be made on a digital platform, okay, and which therefore allows us visibility, okay, and then also allows us to disable people from operating or lifting petroleum products once they are found to be in default of whatever statutory margins or taxes or levies that they haven't lived up to. So the ERDMS, the absence of the ERDMS at that time, where things were done manually and so on, were perhaps part of some of the regulatory challenges. But since that system was installed, a lot of that has been stemmed.
Without this electronic order, BRV cannot enter inside. And this information, when it comes from NPA portal, it is 100% correct.
Once you are able to track whatever is happening on the ERDMS to ICOMS, I mean, by and large, you have tracked all your volumes. And once you get the volumes right, you are likely to get the taxes also correct.
Despite the robustness of the system, the GRA has contracted a third-party company that is taking credit for all the gains made in the sector, making unsubstantiated claims of revenue savings and receiving millions of cedis for a service whose impact or relevance is difficult to ascertain. SML Ghana Limited started what it calls revenue assurance services to the GRA in the downstream petroleum sector in June 2020. The managing director of the company, Christian Tetesoti, says SML is an offshoot of a timber company he will not name. Mr. Soti was Ghana's Controller and Accountants General from 2005 to 2009 and currently a board member of the Internal Audit Agency. He was an Assistant Commissioner of the GRA, and as of 2019, the same time the GRA entered into the agreement with SML, he was the Technical Advisor, the Commissioner General of the GRA. The GRA is the only customer of SML since its establishment.
We haven't even seen, how SML got this contract, all right? They didn't have any experience before they started doing this work. There were experienced companies around. There was no bid for this kind of transaction. And suddenly they have become the superior audit, institution for the petroleum downstream sector that is getting all contracts. And you ask yourself, what does it take to actually get such contracts?
This is just by inference. Everything shows that somebody was connected, somebody knew about the contract, set up a company, no history in IT, no history in audit, no history in forensics, no history in what we call revenue assurance in telecoms. None of it. And it is given this contract. Now, if I'm to ask my colleague who did that process, that when he was shortlisting to pick the company, what pre-qualification criteria did he establish? And what would have been his reason for choosing that? My next question will go to PPA. When the application came for approval, prior approval for single sourcing, what pre-qualification did they assess? What was the evaluation? What did the evaluation report say about the company and its capability to do the job? And on what basis was that approval given?
Mr. Soti left his job as the technical advisor of the GRA Commissioner General in 2019 to manage SML Ghana in 2020 when the company started its operations for the GRA. SML has its flow meters attached to the pipelines at the depots and records volumes of products that flow through the pipelines and give real-time records of activities at the depots.
You see an ultrasonic flow meter, you will see a converter that converts it, you will see a wireless transmitter that sends it to an RTU. The RTU is called the remote terminal unit. So what the remote terminal unit is basically a DCS system that totalizes the flow. And when it totalizes the flow, it sends it to a wireless AP, and there's a secure connection that comes to our data warehouse here.
Players in the industry say real-time reading of loading at the depots means nothing because tax or revenue are not collected in real time. Besides, those figures by SML are not used by the revenue authorities to collect taxes or margins.
SML is being paid 5 pesos per liter for every product that is lifted from the depots. You do the simple math. That means they are paying in excess of about 20-21 million Ghana cedis every month, all right, for the work that they are doing. And that in itself is extremely questionable. What exactly is SML doing? What investment have they done to warrant the payment of such colossal amounts to them? The electronic seals that they have installed at the depots. If somebody wanted to give that contract and was minded about value for money, the first question that comes to mind is what investment is SML doing that actually warrants that they are paid over 20 million Ghana cedis every month? These electronic seals that they have, it's not going to cost you $1 million to procure. So why are they staying on by that one-time single investment and taking such colossal amounts of money from the state?
So we have our team also on field, and they are collecting that data. They scan it and it comes straight to our data center.
SML Ghana also scans the way bills that GRA officials at the depots receive for later references. Some sources within the GRA say the GRA officials can scan these documents if they are given the resources to do so. They do not need a third-party company to scan the documents they receive.
We are taking up the responsibility that GRA has to be able to do that revenue assurance and give it to private companies. Because what prevents GRA from doing that one-time investment of ensuring that they can track revenues, even if they want to have a concurrent tracking mechanism with NPA to be able to satisfy themselves that they are getting the right numbers. GRA can do that one-time investment. They already have customs positioned at all the depots and have a clear view of what is happening at the depots. So that same human capacity can be utilized to monitor the flows from all the depots without duplicating and giving another contract to someone else.
SML Ghana also indicated that its contract has been extended to include measuring the volume of products in the tanks at the depots. Currently, GRA officials take measurement of the products in the tanks every morning and close of day.
Potentially, and I use potentially advisedly, we consider it duplicitous. However, we have agreed that we want to meet with them and understand the real rationale for which they also want to do an automatic tank gauging system. It doesn't matter if their automatic tank gauging system is supposed to gauge the tanks at the depots, whilst our system gauges the tanks at the filling stations.
Through these services, SMS claims that it has saved the nation billions of cedis of revenue that would have been lost through underdeclaration and other anomalies in the downstream petroleum sector. Our investigation has, however, revealed that the company's claims are false and unsubstantiated. For instance, in a report released in April 2021, the company made the following claim to back its operations. Quote, "The leakages in this sector are due to diversion of petroleum products for re-export back to the domestic market and also under declaration of volumes lifted for the domestic market. The authorities have been grappling with this problem over this period because of the inadequate knowledge by the GRA officers to appreciate volume measurements. From our investigation, it emerged that the GRA officials understood the volume measurements more than the SML staff. The GRA said SML churned out erroneous figures when it included interdepot transfers to the taxable volumes and used that to calculate revenues. Petroleum products from one depot to the other cannot be used for tax purposes because it is only taxed when the product is lifted from the depot and sold to the public for consumption. The GRA says it reconciles this anomaly with the actual readings from the meters at the depots. Also on the website of SML, it stated its services as follows. Quote, "The SML digitalization of downstream petroleum product measurement has stemmed the tide of underreporting, diversion, and dilution of fuel products and general non-compliance in the petroleum sector. Officials of the Petroleum Division of the GRA expressed shock when we put the listed services of SML to them. Before we started our interview with the Managing Director of SML, Christian Soti, the GRA officials present raised the claim and SML management denied stating anywhere that the company was providing those services. When we pointed the claims to them from the company's website, the Managing Director of the company said they were mistakenly put on the website.
Oh no, we are not involved in diversion. We are only at the depot. If the thing is lifted, we don't know. It's GRA custom that will determine where it goes and they will follow us. We are not capable. We don't have men outside.
SML admitted its claims were false, and a few hours after our interview, those claims disappeared from the website of the company. The company does not check dilution, diversion, or underreporting, the three factors the company said accounted for revenue losses in the past. According to the GRA, the losses were recorded after the petroleum products were lifted from the depots. And SML does not play any role in the measures put in place by the regulators to curtail the losses at that stage. And if a company does not deal with any of the problems it said were responsible for the losses, how does it take credit for saving billions of cedis as a result of solving those problems?
If you ask me about what SML has been doing or my take on the contracts that they have with the government of Ghana, it's essentially a plug-in into the revenue stream of the state, taking money for no job done, essentially, because what they're supposed to be doing is already being done, and I haven't seen any cause for them to be in that space.
SML Ghana claims its activities resulted in revenue increases, but the GRA has explained that revenue increment in the sector is due to two factors.
Every year we have a way of projecting the revenue. So we expect that revenue will grow each year based on a rate that we looked. Okay. We have more or less done over the years. But it's not only the volume increase that gives us increase of revenue. Sometimes within the period there are changes in rates. The tax is on specific, it's on volumes. So as the rate changes and the volumes also comes in more than what it used to be previous year, the revenue naturally will grow.
SML Ghana has admitted it does not add a liter of petroleum product to the volumes that go through the pipelines. The company can therefore not lay claims to the organic growth in the volumes of the product. The company does not also formulate the policies that increase tax rates on the products. The managing director, however, claims that the company takes credit for the incremental volumes in the industry because, due to its operation, those who had the intention to underdeclare volumes might be deterred.
Now that we have provided a second system, this one is for the GRA monitoring.
But in your monitoring, did you ever report or identify issues of underdeclaration?
No, we don't get into that. We are only reporting the volumes that have been lifted. Customs, GRA, will now say that, okay, this is what was total lifted, and this is what has gone to export, and this is a transit. Then they will then say that this is what has to be for declared for tax purposes, and so much, and there's a shortage. Then they will now go and find out where it comes from, whether it's under declaration or whatever.
According to the GRA, however, even without the other electronic systems put in place, it would be almost impossible to lose petroleum products at the depots. A number of players with different roles and interests are present every time to police the product at every point, and without the GRA opening the valves, no depot or OMC can load petroleum products.
The product is owned by the BDC, so the BDC must be in the known, the customs must be in the known because we have access to. And for most of even the depots, the access to the depots are controlled by us, as in the gates, because it's a bonded warehouse, okay? And then we have national security at the depots. We have NPA reps at the depots. So by the time you are done seeing everybody, that exercise is not even lucrative anymore. And the depot has a reputation to protect, because if day in, day out, people get to know that products get missing at your place, they are in for business. People will not come and store their products there. So even when there are no systems, it is virtually impossible. And we haven't had any such case, ever since.
It is also important to note that although the GRA has contracted SML, the readings from the SML meters are not used by the GRA for its tax purposes.
It has been the way bill figure, which is meters, the volume that is being dispensed from the meters. That is the volume we use for tax purposes.
Which meters?
That is the gantry meters.
SML has confirmed to the Fourth Estate that the meters at the loading gantries of the depots, which are calibrated by the Ghana Standards Authority every 6 months, take more accurate readings than the meters of SML. These are the readings that are used for tax and revenue purposes and not the readings by the SML meters.
From the engineering perspective, if you have contact meters and non-contact meters, which of these two is likely to give you a more accurate reading?
Okay, so the contact meters are always the best.
We also know that the depots, they have the contact meters.
Yes.
You've alluded to the fact that the contact meters
are the best.
So, if the SML meters are less accurate and their readings are not the ones used for tax purposes by the GRA, can SML claim credit for the revenue increment in the sector?
If you look at what NPA is doing tank gauging and also metering, it is even much more sophisticated than what SML is doing. On top of that, they also have tank tracking. They're able to track the volumes on every tank from the depot to the filling station. If all of that is not addressing the leakages that we do have, just having electronic seals at the depot wouldn't be a more effective way to ensure that revenue is actually generated from the downstream sector.
The Fourth Estate also confronted the managing director of SML with the figures the company churned out as savings it made because of its operations. First was the claim in April 2021 that SML saved the state 1 billion Ghana cedis due to its operations.
If you use the 2019 as a base,
yes,
yes, subtract this one, you will get 1 billion for 2020.
It's 800 million.
Okay, about 800 million. Okay. Yes.
The company started operations in 2020. From the revenue figures we obtained from the GRA, the difference in the total revenue from the downstream petroleum sector between 2019 and 2020 is 800 million cedis. If all the increment was attributed to the work of the company, it will still fall short of the 1 billion cedis it claimed to have saved. In February 2023, SML Ghana Limited again claimed that it had saved 3 billion cedis due to its operations. The company has admitted the services it listed on its website as curtailing irregularities in the sector did not exist and deleted them from the website. Even if SML was carrying out those services and all the incremental revenue within the period of its operations was credited to the company's efforts, the amount would be 2.4 billion cedis and not 3 billion cedis as it claimed to have saved. When we put these figures to the managing director, he made a shocking admission.
That's why that 3 billion, I'm not. That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
We cannot say your intervention saved 3 billion.
No, I said 3 billion. I'm not. I've told you that I'm not aware, because when we were told about the publication, we even called the.
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Despite evidence that SML Ghana lied about the services it renders to the state and the amount of money it claimed to have saved, the finance minister, Ofori Atta, this year decided that the company's contract should be expanded to cover the gold mining sector and the upstream petroleum production sector in Ghana. A contract cited by the Fourth Estate shows that SML Ghana is entitled to $0.75 per barrel of oil produced in Ghana. Ghana currently produces between 160,000 and 170,000 barrels of oil per day. The country is expected to add an additional 80,000 barrels per day from the Pecan oil fields, which is expected to be developed a little over a year from now. The company is also entitled to 0.75% of the total volume of gold produced in the country. Ghana last year produced 3.7 million ounces of gold. What this means is that per current arrangement, SML Ghana is entitled or will be paid over $100 million every year. This contract is for 10 years. The Ministry of Finance, the GRA, are yet to respond to our right to information request on these contracts. The regulator of the upstream sector, the Petroleum Commission, has however said it knows nothing about this contract. The Petroleum Commission also says it has no report on leakages or loss of revenue in the upstream sector. The reason this company is employed or contracted to monitor.
Recently, Talo, installed new metering systems that were calibrated by the Standards Authority. Is Finance Ministry saying that those metering systems went wrong, or is that the feedback they got from the Standards Authority that the meters that are already in place have problems? That requires that we bring in SML to now be the one that can accurately monitor petroleum production.
When asked what his advice to the Commissioner General of the GRA on the SML contracts would be if he was still the technical advisor, Mr. Soti said he could not answer.
That is not a question for me to answer. I'm not.
How do you charge for your services? Is it billed based on the quantity you check or the revenue made?
That is handled by another department. I'm only handling the operations. As to how charges and so on, I'm not privy to that one.
So you don't know how much GRA pays you for your services?
No, I have no idea. I have no idea.
SML Ghana is not the first third-party revenue assurance service provider whose operation has raised questions. In the telecommunications sector, the services of Suba Info Solutions and now Kelny GVG have raised concerns in the past for similar reasons as SML Ghana. Currently, the operations of Safaritech Ghana have been flagged and the controversy is still raging. SML Ghana has not been able to flag any anomaly or underreporting, diversion or dilution of petroleum products, but it is being credited for the gains made in curtailing losses in the sector. It appears these companies are brought in the name of revenue assurance to take credit for the work of GRA officials and take from the taxes collected after adding very little or nothing by way of revenue. Evans Aziamor-Mensah, Adwoa Adobea-Owusu, and Manasseh Azure Awuni's report for the Fourth Estate.